Welcome to Shujin Academy VGM Club. I'm Professor Tom, your faculty sponsor. Today's opening track is Colorful Lights from Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight on the PlayStation 4, one of the Persona series spin-off games. As you may have guessed from the title, it's a rhythm game, and most of it involves you dancing to remixes of songs from the original Persona 3, but in between times, you get to hang out with your party members, and this is one of those fun hangout tracks. It was composed by Ryota Kozuka, who's dabbled in Persona tracks, but mostly done work on other games in the greater Shin Megami Tensei franchise. Just like that opening song, every one of today's 17 tracks is a vibe, because this is the third entry in my Cool Glasses series of smooth, laid-back VGM. The show begins with a block of 5 songs that want to hang out and eat guacamole. The first one is Can't Catch a Break from Final Fantasy XIII for the PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows, composed by Masashi Hamauzu. This game was announced as the beginning of a Final Fantasy sub-franchise alongside 2 other games, but neither of those 2 games were Final Fantasy XIII-2 or Final Fantasy XIII-3 because Square looked at how Microsoft numbered versions of Windows and decided that they would also like to get weird. Speaking of Square and being weird, one of their interesting PlayStation 1 era experiments was Racing Lagoon, a street racing game with role-playing elements that's been described as a car-PG by people who are fans of portmanteaus like myself. Racing Lagoon has never been released outside of Japan, although there is an English fan translation. It's generally best known for its fantastic jazz fusion soundtrack from Noriko Matsueda and Takahito Eguchi, and we'll hear C1 Warriors as our second song. I like drum and bass music sometimes, and our third song sees composer Jun Chikuma try out some drum and bass sounds for herself with Redial from Bomberman Hero for the N64, a game that was a departure for the Bomberman franchise that saw it embrace platforming elements. But it wasn't nearly as much of a departure as grim and gritty Bomberman Act Zero, a game that was not composed by Jun Chikuma and that does not appear on the show today. The deepest cut on today's playlist is our fourth song, which is Town A from Lam-Mal, a game for the Sharp X68000 home computer. As you can imagine, a Japanese-exclusive adult game released for a Japanese-exclusive platform in 1992 doesn't have a lot of information out there on the English internet, but I did find an entry on the Visual Novel database telling me it was composed by Takashita Hideaki and Takami Ryu. Also, condolences here to the family of Visual Novel database founder Yorhel, who just recently passed away. When I listened to all the tracks for this episode, I knew the Lam-Mal track had to be followed by the song that is following it, and that was pretty easy for me to do, since I'm the person who puts the tracks in order. So, smoothly transitioning into the end of our first block, we have Be Your Age, Area 3, from the original Neo Geo version of Viewpoint, one of the vanishingly few credits for Megumi Matsuura. Put on your shades now, 'cause it's time to vibe. Those songs were Can't Catch a Break from Final Fantasy XIII, C1 Warriors from Racing Lagoon, Redial from Bomberman Hero, Town A from the X68000 version of Lam-Mal, and Be Your Age, Area 3 from the Neo Geo version of Viewpoint, a game that requires me to identify its platform because it received a lot of ports. The second music block of the day is called Namco Cross Capcom. It doesn't actually include any songs from the Japanese exclusive PS2 game Namco Cross Capcom, but the block is still called Namco Cross Capcom because all of the songs are from either Namco games or Capcom games, and each is part of a series with multiple sequels and /or spin-offs. Starting things off, Namco's R4 Ridge Racer Type 4 graces us with its presence just as it did on the last Cool Glasses episode, with Lucid Rhythms, composed by Tetsukazu Nakanishi, who's a Namco veteran who's worked on several Ace Combat games. This song is from the PlayStation version of Ridge Racer 4, and we know that because it's the only version of Ridge Racer 4. Jumping from the fourth game in a series to the eighth game in a series, our second song is Aquaman Stage from Mega Man 8 for the Sega Saturn. Console mascot Segata Sanshiro will be pleased when he learns that I chose this over the Aquaman stage theme for the PlayStation version of the game because I thought the Saturn version was cooler. This game was composed by Shusaku Uchiyama, and in addition to this game, he's worked on multiple other big Capcom franchises. Moving backwards in series chronology to the third game in its series, the third song in the block is King from the arcade version of Tekken 3, and it's the theme for King, Tekken's Jaguar-masked professional wrestler and protector of orphans. Unlike the other characters in this block, King actually does appear in Namco Cross Capcom, although he didn't make it into either of the Project Cross Zone games that were its spiritual successors. At any rate, this song was composed by Namco's Nobuyoshi Sano. From one Namco arcade game to another, the fourth song in the block is Extreme Slope from Alpine Racer, composed by Takeuchi Ishikawa. This game never really had a good home conversion, as it's one of those cabinets with a unique control scheme that just doesn't lend itself well to a controller, but Ishikawa's soundtrack is full of gems just like this one. Concluding our Namco Cross Capcom clash, the fifth song in the block is from the second iteration of Street Fighter IV. It'll be Theme of Ibuki, Twilight, Super Street Fighter IV Arrange, which is the theme for Teenage Ninja Schoolgirl Ibuki, who joined the Street Fighter IV roster with the release of Super Street Fighter IV. I played the version of this song from Street Fighter III Third Strike way back in Episode 4, and I'm quite happy to give you Hideyuki Fukusawa's remix of Hideki Okugawa's brilliant original track. Let's see how cool our corporate clash turns out, shall we? Those songs were Lucid Rhythms from R4 Ridge Racer Type 4, Aquaman Stage from the Saturn version of Mega Man 8, King from the arcade version of Tekken 3, Extreme Slope from Alpine Racer, and finally, Theme of Ibuki, Twilight, Super Street Fighter 4 Arrange from Super Street Fighter 4. It's time for a word from our sponsor. "60 horsepower, a maximum speed of 9.7 miles per hour, 6.5 feet of blade length, 200 gallons of ice-making water tank capacity, and it's coming right to the launch of your PlayStation 6. It's Zamboni Turismo, the real icing simulator, officially licensed by Zamboni Company USA, lets you drive the ice resurfacing machine of your dreams. From the hot new concepts like the ZX5 to legends like the HDC, dozens of Zambonis have been lovingly recreated down to the slightest detail. You can even drive vintage Zambonis like the Model B, each and every NHL arena available for your icing experience. All on your television in stunning 8K resolution and available for PlayStation VR. Zamboni Turismo. Live the resurfacing legend. Available on launch day for your PlayStation 6. Now, back to the show. Today's closing block is themed around thieves, assassins, criminals, spies, private eyes, and cool cops. Cool crimes and the cool people who do them, and the cool people who catch those cool people. It doesn't get much cooler than flamboyant cat burglars pulling off heists, and the block starts off with Phantom from Persona 5 Royal, one of the game's menu themes that plays as you watch the silhouettes of the Phantom Thieves. You all know how much I love Shoji Meguro's soundtrack for this game, and if you want to play it, Persona 5 Royal goes on sale pretty regularly for just about every modern gaming platform. I'm not spoiling much to tell you that Persona 5 includes a mysterious assassin, and there's another assassin in our second song, which comes from the DS version of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All. The song is Shelly de Killer, The Whim of a Murderous Gentleman. It was composed by Akemi Kimura, and it's about a killer for hire who maintains an air of class while he's offing his victims. Private eyes are always cool, and the third song here is from a game starring a detective. It'll be The Lazy Detective Agency from Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Raido Kuzunoa vs. the Soulless Army, another song from Shoji Meguro. The original PlayStation 2 version of this game runs about $75, but it has been remastered for modern consoles as Raido Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army, and you can pick up that version much cheaper. For the penultimate song in the block, we'll hear City of Buell from The Outfoxies, a stylish arcade game featuring a cast of eccentric assassins fighting in duels to the death. This game is cool as hell, and its soundtrack is cool as hell, and if you want to play it, you're probably not going to find it at your local arcade, unless you live down the street from Galloping Ghost in Chicago, which may have the only Outfoxies cabinet in North America. But you can play it on the PlayStation 4 and the Switch via the Arcade Archive series of ports, and it's worth checking out. Not only did composer Masahiro Fukuzawa deliver a stellar soundtrack of sly jams, the game also influenced the gameplay of Super Smash Bros. To close things out, we're going to hear some pure synthwave awesome with a song called New York from Miami Chase for the Amiga, composed by Jimmy Fredrickson. Miami Chase is a game about stylish cops doing car chases, and the soundtrack is the best thing about it. From what I can find, Jimmy Fredrickson only did 3 soundtracks, all for the Amiga, and he's better known for his demo scene work. This is the synthwaviest synthwave song that ever synthwaved, and the whole soundtrack is just as great, so it's going to play in the background as we drive into the sunset in our Ferrari Testarossa. Those songs were Phantom from Persona 5 Royal, Shelley the Killer, The Whim of a Murderous Gentleman from Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Justice for All on the DS, The Lazy Detective Agency from Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Raito Kuzunoa vs. the Soulless Army, City of Buell from the Outfoxies, and finally, New York from Miami Chase for the Amiga. That's the show. If you want to reach me, I'm most active on Blue Sky as shujinacademy.bsky.social. You can also find me on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram as Shujin Academy VGM Club. Episodes of the show are posted to my YouTube channel, which you can find by searching for Shujin Academy VGM Club. Other links are on my linktree at linktr.ee/Shujin Academy. Please leave me a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you are finding this episode. New episodes released once or twice a month, depending on how often I get them done, and they premiere on Thursday mornings on your favorite podcatcher and 8beats.co, the internet's #1 game music radio station. My show is also featured on TerraPlayer, the cool app that's a destination for gaming podcasts and other content, so you can check me out there. Finally, if you just can't get enough of me, I also voice esports reporter Samson Escapades on audio drama podcast How Much in Bison Dollars, which you can find on FGC Radio, Patreon, and most podcatchers. If you're listening on Spotify, please be aware that they've pulled a few of my episodes before. There's a non-zero chance they'll eventually pull my entire podcast, as they've done with some other game music podcasts, so I'd strongly suggest you subscribe elsewhere to be sure you can get all the Professor Tom goodness you crave. Special thanks for this episode goes out to fellow VGM podcaster Jameson of Bar Silence Podcast for contributing cover art. You can and should find Bar Silence wherever you download podcasts, and check out his website at barsilence.com. Thanks also goes to all the fine, hard-working people who've ripped these tracks out of various video games. And, finally, thanks to each and every one of you listeners. A few days ago, Shujin Academy VGM Club reached its 10,000th lifetime download, and I am grateful that you all keep tuning in to hear my show. I've got one more song to play us out, and it's taking us to the golf course with the descriptively named Music Test 01 from Golf Magazine Presents 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples, widely acknowledged as the best golf game for the 32 acts, and composed by Ron Saltmarsh and Andy Warr. Thank you for listening. I'm Professor Tom, and I'll see you next time on Shujin Academy VGM Club.